Hi, friends, and welcome to my channel. This is a podcast where I enjoy sharing my insight with you. And today, if you can make a start, you can make a finish. And today, we're going to explore the unlimited potential. And that starts and finishes, or quasi-truthful, but something that we can play with in the world of form. Stick around. Making a start, or the making of anything, is a trick that we play on ourselves, but we can use in the world of form to do amazing things. But fundamentally, we have to understand the principles of starting and finishing, which are what you might consider arbitrary delineations that aren't real. Many of us in the West have been fooled with the story of Genesis. The first 4 words, "In the beginning, God created." Are the 5 words, "In the beginning, God created." That wife's tale we have bought hook, line, and sinker since we were little toddlers in Sunday school. Now, if you believe in science, which I do, we can't dispel nor can we confirm that myth. So it remains mythological. It remains an assumption. Because a physicist, if you asked a physicist, did the universe have a beginning? Well, you might have learned in your earth science class that the Big Bang was the beginning of the universe. Wait a minute. A physicist who was really honest with themselves would say, we're not sure. I've heard, I can't think of that guy's name, Brian Cox maybe. He's a young English physicist. We're not sure if the universe had a beginning. The Big Bang was some kind of event, but whether or not it was the start is debatable. Well, let's be like Einstein and we'll intuit the universe through our own selves. You can intuit so much about the universe by paying attention to yourself. When did you start? Oh, Lord. Here we go. When does life start? Well, let's pinpoint it. Let's really be objective about this. And let's, for the sake of argument, say that life starts at conception. That's not entirely true. Maybe if we back up a little bit, the starting event was the ejaculation. That was the starting event. Dad had an explosive moment in the fallopian tubes. You see where I'm going with this? Maybe if we back up a little bit more, it was when Mom and Dad got a little amorous one night. Wait a minute. Maybe it goes back further than that. Maybe I go back to the moment when Mom and Dad planned on having a 3rd child. And they talked about it. So then I became an idea. Wait a minute. Does it go back even further? Because had my mom and dad not gotten together to speak or discuss of me, or the events leading up to that moment hadn't occurred, wait a minute. The further back you go, the more connected it seems. And so to pinpoint a cause, separate from other causes in the whole universe, doesn't make any sense to me. Like individuation doesn't make any sense to me because I can't pinpoint precisely. Without knowing a moment called before. I can't find the before. So, life starts in an arbitrary way. So we have to just sort of agree on this moment that life starts 9 weeks, 10 weeks after conception. All right. Not everybody's agreeing on that, do they? Well, if you give that some more thought, if life begins at conception, that's also when you've started to die because you spend 9 months in utero. That means you are 9 months closer to dying. So where does death begin? Oh, good God. And when does death end? Okay, so there's a big debate about clinical death now. And the definition of clinical death, definition, define, delineation, mark, separation, keeps changing. The brain is clinically dead, but the body is vibrant and can be kept alive indefinitely. Am I partially alive? So we get into it a little further, trying to see the folly of causation, causality. And we get into markers. Let's divide the body up into halves and pieces. Where does the neck start and the head begin? Well, I have to make an arbitrary line to cut off my head because it all seems to go into this morphing thing. One could say that the tip of my finger is connected to my little toe. Yet we have podiatrists, and we have gastroenterologists, and we have dentists, and we have psychiatrists, as if none of it is integrated. As if none of it is interdependent. And this is what we've done to fool ourselves. We've arbitrarily applied boundaries and measurements to things that naturally don't seem to have dividing lines. So we create something called a ruler. And a ruler has lines on it which are arbitrarily spaced. And so we are ruled by these perceptions which cage us into something that feels like a body. That is until you realize that perception and reality might be the same thing. In the same way, starting and beginning might be the same thing. Illusions. And that reality might not be something we can see, hear, taste, but can sense. That's because you are essentially in vitro. And in vitro is a process. Inside of inside of a test tube or a petri dish or a glass container. In vitro literally means in glass. And that you are a perpetuating, evolving sort of thing. Like a whirlpool moving around in a river that has an invisible center. When you realize that you don't have a start and it's hard to figure out where the start and the finish is, you realize you can make a start now. In the same way that you started living, you have started dying. In the physical. Starts and finishes are physical phenomena, which are merely illusions of perception. Which tells me one thing. If I make a start, I have already made a finish, in the same way that you're living and dying at the same time. These things arise in simultaneous fashion in a petri dish, in a glass tube, in a nothingness that presides over this duality. And the beauty about spiritual liberation is that you can start something with no resources externally. Many of us fall into the trap of thinking we need money to make a start. But money is like a ruler. It's like saying, I can't build a house because there's no inches anywhere. Money is a measurement of prosperity. The Great Depression happened and everybody started committing suicide. It was like because all the rulers were taken away from them. The money, the boss. But they lived in the 30s. There was plenty of water. There was plenty of air and plenty of soil to make food and wood to build houses and skills to do things. Yet the rulers were all gone, and people killed themselves. Why? Because their graven images died. Their bosses died. Time, money, and limit died. And they thought that was ruling their life. When and if the stock market ever crashes, your prosperity does not crash. Your ingenuity can never be taken away from you. The question is, are you out of inches? If you're out of money, you're out of inches. If you're out of time, are you out of clicks on a clock? You never run out. Because you never run in. You're a process. You're in a glass tube. You're in vitro. A whirlpool. An everlasting presence that cannot be absent from itself. Make a start on something. Write that book. Lose that weight. If you want to go to a school, let's say you want to go to school, you can make a start. Oh, I can't afford a PhD. That's $100,000. The application for your average PhD program may be $100 or so. If you make a start, you have just created a finish, a way to go forward. Starts and finishes are arbitrary illusions, special effects that we can play with. Nobody makes a start without there being an implicit finish. But even the finishes can allow you to keep going. If you finish your PhD, keep going, keep learning. If you write a book, write another one. Starts and finishes they're just arbitrary delineations. And what you see as a finish line or an obstacle is just the horizon. You're not going to drop off. It's a world without end. Fundamentally. I hope that you see clearly in vitro, in glass. You weren't born. As in, you never existed. And you won't die. As in, you never existed in the first place. You are always here. You are always now. And if you can make a start, you have already finished. My name is Ryan Hebert. I hope you enjoyed these insights. Please check out my blog, mymorningmotivator.com.